Kake, and we talked about Koha just briefly, but she thought it would be ideal to come in and share the kōrero with you guys. And again, I'm not a tax consultant or an expert on tax issues or anything, but I actually used to work for Inland Revenue probably 100 years ago, and I was there when we actually defined the definition of koha. All right, so that's it's kind of hard case when Angela asked me to come and talk to this kaupapa. So if it's a koha and nothing else, you should be safe, you should be right. So what I mean by that is a koha is an unconditional gift. It can be in the form of money, it can be in the form of goods, and people can bring us, a bag of potatoes and gift that to someone, But the key point here is that there is no expectation in return. So, if say for instance, if you were a regular at my community dinner, providing serving our community, and there was an expectation that you'd get rewarded for that in monetary form or any other form, that is not a koha, because there's an expectation of a return for that service. See, it's a little bit different. See, Waiho's there every Thursday, and that is a genuine contribution that he makes in terms of keeping the community happy and stacking chairs and just manaki. But there's no expectation that he will receive anything for that, apart from the odd kia ora here and there, But and that's the key difference. That's the key point. If there's an expectation of receiving something, it's not an unconditional gift. So the definition of koha, to translate that, is it's an unconditional gift without no conditions attached to it. Right? The other determination that we have within Inland, and it's still, this is, I'm going back to the kind of like the mid-80s, 90s, mid-90s, when we defined the definition, and they consulted widely on this with Māori, or we did. And if it starts to become a regular thing where there's an expectation, like a monthly contribution or even a 2 monthly contribution or even a weekly thing, you start to expect something out of that. So that's where it starts to get a little bit cloudy, a little bit murky.
Yeah.
So the expectation is so you're not doing it unconditionally. You're not doing it freely without an expectation. You're doing it. You're starting to so it's not actually your fault if you're the recipient of the money or of the gift voucher or of the bag of spuds. It's actually the person giving its responsibility to make sure that the tax is declared. So the way that Inland Revenue works, it doesn't have to always be money. It could be the form of vouchers. So what's important here is that it's an unconditional gift, and that it's not on a regular basis or a routine thing. Like you can't front up next month and say, hey, I've done all these services for you, where's my voucher? Because then there's an expectation now that the employer or the organisation, they don't even have to employ you, that there's an expectation now that the organisation should be paying me something for that. So it's now gone over the threshold, or over the understanding. It's not an unconditional gift anymore. So I guess the key difference here is that a koha is an unconditional gift. Just like when you go to a marae, you put your koha down. There's, you do that out of the love and generosity that you want to kind of acknowledge the people of that marae. The people of that marae don't say, actually, no, it should be $200 or it should be $500. It's given with whatever the amount is. It could be 2 cents. Nei rā te koha. That's the koha. But which is quite different to when you come to my marae and you hire the place. You hire the place for whatever, a couple $100 for the day. That's not a koha. That's a fee for service. It's quite different. There's an expectation for the day that you're there. You'll pay me for that, the hiring of the marae. So that's the difference. So it's got to be an unconditional gift. There's no expectation from you as the deliverers of that service that you'll get anything. So it is really you're doing it for love. So when that changes, then it's up to ko tui in this instance to then redefine that, and they've got to say, well, actually, We've either got to stop doing that or do it where there's no expectation that you'll receive acknowledgement for it, because then it's not a koha. We've got to stop calling it a koha. You know? And it's actually a fee for service. Whether it be $10 a week or $50 a month, and whether it be in the form of potatoes or in a voucher or in money, the game has changed, because there's now an expectation for the service. You might think it's voluntary. IRD views it as a service that you're providing, and in return you will receive something. You know? A voucher, money, cash, whatever, sack of potatoes. It moves from an unconditional gift to a conditional gift. So it's now on the basis that I will deliver these voluntary services in an expectation that I will receive something. So that's yeah. So when it's a straight koha, it's given as an unconditional gift with no expectation in return, then you're safe, you're fine. And it's not paid out on a regular weekly basis like someone would pay out a wage, or even monthly basis. You know, it can't be a routine thing. It's got to be quite random, unexpected. And it's a koha. So Angela shared a little bit to me about what your situation is, but not in any great detail. So I don't know. Would it help if we kind of talked about some of the scenario that you know what we're in? And again, I'm not an accountant. I'm not even a tax advisor, but I was around when they established koha from an IRD perspective.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Tamara and I are the ones present that have been part of this journey since it first began. And when we first came on board, we understood it to be voluntary, and we were grateful for receiving kohas that we did at that very first start. It started to get a bit cloudy and phasey as we started to do more and more regular meetings, more and more mahi towards the cause. And we kept receiving these kohas on a regular basis, so it became an expectation in a sense. But we were grateful nevertheless, and we classed it as a koha. When the work itself started to get heavier and more, we weren't too sure how that koha was going to work in. And then we started getting conditions as per the koha that we were receiving. The conditions started to come in from the trust down to us. So we were trying to stay in compliance to those conditions, but we still felt in a sense that it undervalued in a sense. We sort of sensed that in some of our mahis, because some of us were dedicating 120 hours, know, over and above what I expected of a voluntary mahi. And grateful for whatever we received during that process, but we still felt a bit undervalued, I suppose, from the trust top end down to us, of realising what it is that we're doing and the achievements that we were making along the way. So it did start to get a very cloudy, to say the least. We were so grateful when TSI came on board and had some money for us, and we really did appreciate going into a contract, and then that expectation was there, knowing that it was there to support the money going forward. And I suppose this year we want to understand, I suppose we're looking at more of a contract, because the mahi we're doing is still exceeding the normal standard hours of a voluntary. And we're thankful to the Trust for all that it's given us, whether it's the mainly our vouchers. We do appreciate that. And now that we're actively coming together on a weekly basis, and our mahi has picked up from Monday to a Friday in a sense sometimes, we need that support to keep the actions moving, to further develop our community work and what we're trying to achieve. So that to me...
Koha. Is there an I'm going to ask you a couple of questions just to clarify too. Is there an expectation from the Trust that you are at a certain place here or wherever you are in the homes every week?
Now it has, because our mahi has picked up. We're working more into our community, and we need some sort of financial support as the homestead to continue that mahi. We need money to support our transport. We need money to support our kai, because we practice tikanga when we're engaging with our community. All those things that encompass our tikanga, when we're connecting with our community, we need those resources. And so we need some sort of contract, we need some sort of financial support, so that we may continue. We don't have a problem committing the hours, you know, and we know that the hours exceed a standard community organisation. So I think it's more about supporting the finances of continuing our mahi. We don't mind receiving a koha, however that be, but once the conditions are set, they are to stay like that, because they keep changing over the process of year to year.
So is there a roster or anything? Is there a, you know, like, well, you the people that mahi every day?
As a homestead this year, we've kind of like structured how we would prefer to receive that koha from our trust. And given the fact that our warm dry homes is the busiest one and exceeds all hours, we sort of based it out understanding what is our limit, our threshold of receiving a koha, and we've tried to base it out throughout the whole year. So when it comes to our peak season, we've already been covered throughout the whole year, is how we try to work it out, in a sense.
Yeah, but there's still an expectation that you'll receive something, eh?
Yes. Yes, so it's a case of moving away from koha now and putting to our trust that we need to form some sort of contract for the amount of mahi that we're doing. We don't mind doing the hours. Some of us, we love this, you know.
Well, either it is voluntary or it's not.
Yeah.
Hey, if it's not voluntary, then what is it? Is it are you therefore potentially going to be employed by the trust or by an agency, you know, by someone?
We're hoping that this mahi does lead into some sort of form of a paid mahi. Whether that be full-time, I don't know. Be nice in the realistic world to have a full-time paid job, but for now, going forward, I think for me, I'm speaking for me, is that I'd like to see some form of contract. Yes, I have expectations now. My first 3 years I have dedicated have been based on a koha, understanding the koha, and you know I don't have no issues with that. But going forward from this point now, I would like to see more of something more like a contract.
Yeah, structure, right?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Tony?
Kia ora.
Sorry, I've heard most of that. With the koha, one of the questions I wanted to know is there a limit you can get in a year with IRD? Because I think that's where expectation came in, is because we thought that there was a limit a year that you could get on it, and at some parts we were getting over like 1,200 a year.
Yeah,
so if there's a limit, I think expectation came in.
Yeah, that's a tricky one because a koha can be 10 cents or it could be, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars. If it's a true koha, it's more about is there expectations around, you know, if you've got in your head that you will receive $1,200 a year, then it's not a koha. There's an expectation, there's a condition attached to that you know, if they only gave you $1,000 instead of $1,200, you might come back and say, hey, where's the other 200? So there's an expectation. See, when I'd argue this in a tikanga context that if it's you know, it's for Māoridom to determine the size of the gift. It's more around whether it is unconditional or conditional. You know, if it's unconditional, it doesn't matter how big it is. If I wanted to donate the whole of the South Island, I could. If I was, you know, if I had that in charge of that. But it's not so much the size of the koha, although some accountants will probably have a problem with that. But then but if it's koha, in the context of it being an unconditional gift, because I just loved what you fellas did or brought to Papakura on that particular day or that particular 6 months, and you weren't expecting anything around that. But I think your question is the main question is around, has that changed? Is there now potentially the opportunity to form a different relationship, whether it be in an employment way or not, because it sounds like you're expected to do certain mahi, in the homes, and that part of that does it cover travel, does it cover kai, does it cover your hours that you are contributing, so it's no longer voluntary. There's an expectation now that you get reimbursed or get money for that, or in-kind contributions. So even in-kind contributions can be taxed. It's in the Income Tax Act.
It's interesting as well, because in circumstances, especially with the warm and dry homes happening over the winter period, there's an expectation like use of one's vehicles to load all the materials, curtains, and curtain rails and things like that. So actually using your own vehicle to actually go and install all the curtains and bubble wrap and all these materials into people's homes. So there's an expectation there. So looking at petrol costs, transport going to, it does add up. So there's that expectation there. We're using our own vehicle.
So the question for the trust is it voluntary anymore? Because it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like that new relationship has to be established between the trust and you guys as no longer as volunteers, as contractors or employees of the trust, which is a big decision for the trust. Because there's employment responsibilities that go along with that, paying IRD. Unless you've got charitable status, then you don't have to pay income tax. But that's stuff for the trust that they have to apply for. But again, this is an unqualified opinion. There's people within IRD called senior tax people that can actually give you a ruling on this, which would be the ideal. Or what we did at the marae, because we've had this question, we give our kaumātua, our contribution every now and again, but it's not on a set day every month. It's not, it's as and when, because you fellows have just supported the marae awesomely for the last 6 months or a year. So we but it's not expected, and the amount isn't determined by the recipient. We just give whatever. It might be $1,000, it might be more. Might be vouchers, might be whatever. But the key thing here is that the recipient is not expecting it. So our kaumata, which do an awesome job at the marae, they don't expect it. But as it starts to become a routine every 6 months or every year or every month type thing, then you start to create an expectation. Oh, where's our koha this month? I thought you were here voluntary.
And then how it started.
That's how it started for us. Just
coming together. Is that it wasn't an expectation that you were just given something now and then, but then the question came as, were we getting too much a year for IRD purposes? So that's how that came. Like, it was that we would just get it now and then, but then when they added up, it was we getting too much a year for IRD purposes, and then did the trust have to look into how much we could get a year?
So it's always best to kind of get a senior tax advisor's advice or ruling on it. And once you've got that ruling from them, as long as you've given them all the information, then you can hold that if you ever audited, or if the trust ever audited, the Tūtui trust ever audited. Right, you've got that ruling, and I think Angela, you might have got something from the accountants, around that. But as long as you're applying that principle, then you've got a piece of paper or a ruling from IRD or from an accountant, you should be covered. But as soon as it's If it's unconditional, I'll go back to the fundamental thing that I mentioned. If you're doing this out of the love of your heart, and it's unconditional, or meaning there's no expectation in return for the service you're providing, then it's a koha. If there is an expectation that I will get X amount every month, it's getting into grey area, eh? You're starting to get into the muddy area, which is kind of, you fellas knew that before I came here, which is why you're coming into it. So the best thing to do is to ask the questions. Is there an expectation in return for what you're providing? If so, yeah, it's not a koha. You know, and then you have to define what that relationship is with ko tui tui trust going forward. And that's not for me to determine. That's up to the trust to say, right, we should be taking these people on. And it might be whatever, 20 hours a week or 120 hours a week. You know? I highly doubt it, but you know what I mean? Because then there are other employment issues because you're working too much.
Yes.
You know, so these guys will go for escape for making you work 120 hours a week as the employer. You know, so it's not just all. Yeah, well, that's awesome if you're putting in 120 hours a week. That's me. But from an employer perspective, you've got to look after your staff as well. Your employees, it's a health and safety issue, someone working that much.
We're
So,
definitely concentrating on the quality of our health, our delivery, and all that. So we're taking those all into consideration. And when we did the contract mahi last year, that in itself was a bit confusing, to say the least. It had its conditions and so forth. We thought some of those conditions worked well for us as an operation after the mahi, but it didn't carry on, sort of thing. So it's all been new learning, to say the least. Or be coming from a contract back into voluntary, and now moving forward for this year is like, how do we sustain the mahi? And with our well-being intact of our health and our finances and all that, to support the kaupapa as well.
But one of the key things you said though is feeling valued.
Yes.
And feeling valued for the mahi you do. So that's the conversation you have with the trust. If you value this mahi, can you consider us in a contract or an employer-employee situation? Or stay as we are in a voluntary capacity with no expectation that you do it for voluntary out of the love of your heart, without expectation that you're going to receive anything. So even though you're using your petrol, even though you're using your, petrol, your vehicle, the running costs and all that, you might want to talk to IRD around how you might get some of that reimbursed. It's out of my pay lane, all right? Out of my expertise. Get an expert advice. Get IRD, because that's what they ask for, a senior tax advisor to give you a ruling on that. And then you've got something in writing from them. So if the advisor in the trust position, then you can, if you ever audited, you can say, bang, here it was. Here's my evidence. But don't just get it from anyone at IRD, get it from a person who has the authority to make that ruling.
Wow.
Right?
Nice.
Yeah, it's your assurance. Okay. So, but the whole question around value is a question between you and the trust as to whether they want to take the role, the role that you guys play. And they may have the capacity only to employ you for 10 hours a week, or and if that's the case, that's it, and that's what you give. That might be the win-win outcome. Actually,
Yes.
we can only afford this, and 2 hours work, but you'll be paid. They have to account for the tax, unless has Kotuhi got charitable status? Yeah, so it'd be income tax exempt, so they don't have to pay the tax. But no one gets out of PAYE. All right, PAYE will still have to be paid. So that depends on all your other circumstances too around what tax code they have to. So that you guys all know about PAYE, yeah. They take that out at source and pay it to IRD. So that's an interesting time for you guys. I think the key question now is the value question. How is this valued? How's this work valued by the trust? If so, but then now from the trust side of things, they only get X amount of money to distribute as well. So it's how do you find that compromise? suggest the only way around that is that to make the, whatever remuneration they decide to pay you is that it's unexpected and could be random, you know, once or twice a year or whatever, you know. It's not for me to determine the frequency, but the main thing is you're not expecting it, and from an IRD perspective, you know, it's not seen to be going out at the same time every week or every month,
Oh,
you know, because that's a dead giveaway. It's not an unexpected gift. On the 5th of every month, I'll be getting this amount,
right.
and it's the same amount every month. That's certainly not a koha.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's an expectation that you'll get. I don't know, give me an idea of how much the contribution is that you get.
In regards,
What do you get per month from these guys? Well,
Well,
let's
been all
say it was
different.
$50.
Yeah, it's different.
100,
Yeah.
different
between 50 petrol, it's been
Right.
between
Okay.
$20 and $50.
Yeah, so
depending
because it's petrol reimbursement and maybe, so you might be able to get a ruling around those kind of reimbursements, fixed cost reimbursements,
Okay.
but they're not taxable.
Right.
But just, get something in writing from IRD. I'm talking to the trust now,
Trust, yeah, trust,
because you guys will be the ones going for the skate, not these fellas.
yeah.
You guys might have to declare it as well in your income tax for the year, because
And the trust has been giving us, you know, like top-up cards,
Yeah.
you know, those kind of things as well. And we appreciate that because it helps us to do our money, you know. But we do value when we do get the countdown cards.
Yeah,
You know, it's food, putting extra food on our table for our tamariki. But I think when it became a regular thing, then the expectation became a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
We were receiving it on a regular basis,
Yeah.
and then the regular base, and then once that became regular, then the conditions came in. Oh, you had to be a facilitator. You had to do this. You had to have a job in order to receive the koha card. So all those things were coming ugly in a sense, well, not ugly, hazy.
Yeah.
So yes.
So I'll give my staff countdown vouchers every now and again, but it's not on they're not expecting it, and it's not on a regular basis, you know, and it could be any amount. And it's usually depending on how well we're going as a marae, you know, financially. If there's no money in the coppers, we can pay. Yeah. It's all about expectation.
Yeah.
And are you truly doing this voluntary, or you know, the love of your heart? If you aren't, if there's an expectation that you'll receive something in return, then it's definitely not a koha. That's the easiest way to define it. And the exemption to that, which you might want to get a ruling, is around the petrol reimbursement.
Okay.
You know, if you've got a mileage sheet that you can put in, then it's a straight what they call a non-taxable allowance. But that's something you want to get from my idea, from me.
Just seeing the work that we're doing, we met with the Labour ministers last Friday. This is from the Healthy Homes, more than the Healthy Homes structure,
Health and Wellbeing.
Health and Wellbeing Committee.
Caucus Committee.
And the expectation, you know, for that part of it to be rolled out to the communities.
Yeah.
And the expectation is that they want to see families as having warm and healthy homes. So, but just looking at the work that we are doing and rolling that out through the voluntary part in the community, I thought, hey, there's a lot of this has been rolled out now for the past 3 years. Yeah, but it gets to a point where a snowballing effect where how many homes did you do last year?
So we had 104 whānau that were interested in the program, but we had 53 requests and 41 homes. So they do a workshop, house assessment, and installation in homes. So 43 homes were installed, and we still got quite a few still to do. But that was because they were learning the
Yep.
skills of those three components, so developing their skill to deliver. So Habitat for Humanity, Auckland Council, that have been working alongside the whānau to actually make that happen,
Yeah. So seeing the snowballing effect, in signing people up for the house assessments and then for the ladies to actually go out and do the installation part of it, it does become quite for probably past the point of saying as being voluntary, it becomes
It's a
snowball,
service.
a snowball service. Really.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just go in there and do it any old way you want to either.
No,
It's a specific, you'll wrap the cylinders this way, or you'll insulate the windows this way, with curtains and so on.
That's why we educate them on what it is that we are doing.
Yeah, so it's definitely a service, and in return for that service, there's an expectation that you get remunerated for that service.
But in order to maintain that service, you need more volunteers, you see, because it's becoming bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Mm.
Who's the accounts person on Kotutui now?
Lee and Brian Blake.
Brian, yeah. Has Brian got an opinion on this?
No, they're going to hear it next Wednesday when the Trust has a hui to talk about the home strand as a deep dive next Wednesday afternoon.
Yep.
So this is really timely information to take to them. One reason why I'm filming you so I can send it to the trustees prior to the hui.
Did you ask him first?
I asked him to be here, so I'm pretty sure he's okay with it.
It's all right, isn't it? Well, we can blot out his face like on Police 7.
It won't be public video, it's just for the trustees and for the whānau.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Although
So the main thing is though that it's that it's can't be regular remuneration. There's no expectation that for whatever service or whatever thing that you're providing is there's an expectation that you'll be remunerated, because then that starts to be a condition.
Right.
So koha again is an unconditional gift.
Yeah, and just seeing that the foundation of it is really relying on voluntary service.
Yeah, or even if no, you can be paid, but I really loved what you did yesterday. I'd like to give you this koha over and above. So it's not even it's an unconditional gift that you weren't expecting as the recipient.
So what Tony is saying is that you can still receive koha even as an employee.
Yeah. Because man, you just blew us out of the water today. I love it, so I'm gonna here's my koha
Especially
on top of
especially last year at the Manaia with the city mission.
Yeah.
There's stuff there. Oh, got blown away. We got those eggs. That was unexpected.
Well, that's it. You see,
Wow.
we receive a lot of product like that, and there's no expectation that we have to do anything for it. We can give it out how we want. I don't know. This is probably still a bit unclear, but
No,
Yeah.
that made a lot of sense what you shared with us today. And it sort of, just puts a lot of clarity as to what next for our steps moving forward. And following up with our knowing it with IRD as part of the mix with our accountants, our trust, seeing what they need to do from them coming down, and how we can find, like I said, value. Because it's starting to evolve now. When we first came together, we were working with small numbers. Now that we're starting to evolve more and more, and to sustain the mahi, we believe in the kaupapa and everything, but to sustain it, keep going forward, we need some more financial support now.
those are three strands: the home strand, the health strand, and the
Education.
strand.
Chromebooks. Education strand.
Yeah, well, it was one of the reasons why the Labour MPs came up to actually see what Kotutui was doing. After all, they want to reinforce that part of the warm and healthy dry homes part, to see how we operate in the community.
But they're all connected, eh? You know,
Yeah.
they're all
Oh,
connected and
yeah,
all
yeah,
contribute to well-being, kind of well-being.
Yeah, you know, that's the beauty thing about the marae, the connections that we have at the marae there, because I've been targeting people and inviting them, would like to come along to our money skills program, and that's how I'm able to get a lot of them to come along to the money skills, because we have the rapport, because I know the people there, so it's been great, it's been wonderful. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Any other questions?